So the question of the air conditioning is really, I think, is there's a Mishnah in Tractate Peah. In Tractate Peah, where the Mishnah says, "Come and join us if you want." You're a Mechutz Lamah. What's your name?
I'm Zach.
Zach. Okay, make yourself comfortable. There's a Mishnah in Tractate Peah that says, just make sure you're not in the way of the camera. That's so you're good. Sit. Okay, that's right. The Mishnah says like this. Peah means that you're allowed to go into a guy's field, and you get he has to leave a corner of the field for the poor people. Now, the way it works in the Halacha and Peah, the way it works is everybody's entitled to go into the field and start grabbing whatever you can. What if 99 people, you got 100 poor people, 99 people say, we want the guy to distribute it instead of having a free-for-all? And one guy says, no, I want it to be a free-for-all. The halacha is like him. The Mishnah says we do what he says because she'amar kehalacha, because he's got the halacha on his side. The halacha is that it's not to be distributed. The halacha is that that it's each man for himself. You can't use sickles to cut the peah. The Mishnah says you can't use sickles for the obvious reason that you're going to have a few people limping if everybody's chopping away with sickles on the peah. You have to grab the grains out of the ground with your hands. So you can't go chopping it off. Well, one guy says, I want to grab it. I don't want the owner of the field taking it down and distributing it. There the Mishnah says, 99 say to distribute. One says to do it this way. We do like him because he's got the halacha on his side. The alternative, there's a certain type of tree that's very high, and it's dangerous to climb the tree. There the Mishnah says he takes it down and distributes it. Now, what if 99 people say, no, let's all go to free for all? One guy says, no, let him distribute it. Then we do like the one guy because he's saying what the halacha says. The halacha says it's to be distributed. That means that there's an objective right and wrong. If the majority rules against the objective right or wrong, we don't listen to the majority. That's one of the famous questions. Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, one of the great commentaries, and lived in the 17th century, say he was 9 years old, brilliant. He was a natural genius from the earliest age, and a Catholic priest stopped him on the street. 9-year-old boy. He said to him, in Judaism, isn't there a concept you follow the majority? He goes, yeah. He goes, well, the majority of the world is Christian. Why aren't you guys become Christians? So Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, without missing a beat, he said to him, the law that you follow in the majority is only when there's a doubt. If there's no doubt, we don't follow the majority. Right? We don't have any doubt. And Judaism is right, therefore we don't follow the majority. This is what Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz said to the priest. So when it comes to air conditioning, also I think that there is no halacha here, because they didn't have air conditioning since the time the Mishnah was written. But I think that it follows the same thing. If it's a hot summer day, then the norm in the society is to run air conditioning on a hot summer day. I've been in shuls where it's freezing cold in winter. There's always that one guy who wants the window open because he says it's healthy to window open. He's wrong for opening the window. The fact that he sits by the window doesn't mean you get control over the window. I control the window. I've decided. And sometimes people forget that when you open the window, the cold air. I have one guy, a guy who sits by the window and opens the window because he says he needs fresh air. But you're forgetting that cold air does come into the rest of the shul. He just forgot that. So I think that when it comes to air conditioning, it really has to do with what would the norm of the society be. The norm of the society, when it's a certain level of heat, is to run air conditioners. One guy doesn't like it, so put on a coat, put on a sweater. So I don't know. And then you get those days that are, so if it's 90 degrees outside, everybody agrees. And if it's 40 degrees outside, everybody agrees you shouldn't have the air conditioning. Well, what happens if it's 68 degrees outside or if it's 77 degrees outside? Some people say, oh, it's a beautiful day. Some people say, well, I'm hot. So what do you want? So it's a difficult thing. That's a test of menschlichkeit. Reb Shimshon Pincus, who was Nifter, when he was Nifter, one of the very, very influential Rav in Eretz Yisrael who was Nifter, his son said at his funeral, never in my life did I see my father close a window that somebody else had opened and open a window that somebody else had closed. I mean, I want the window open, but maybe somebody else closed it, so maybe they're cold. Why do I count more than him? Okay? It's a question of menschlichkeit. It's a big test. The air in the room is a very big test of menschlichkeit. Because people only concerned about themselves. Now, having said it, make it colder, will you? Just kidding. We're good so far. Hey, Well, my wife says I have a bad habit because I leave the house in the morning, and as I leave the house, I kind of flick off the air conditioning. She said, and then she goes, you know, there are other people live here. I say, yeah, but it costs money. Gotta save. All right, 54. So the first thing HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I want to show you something interesting. The first thing HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avraham Avinu on page 54 is, Ve'escha l'goy gadol, I'm going to make you into a great nation, va'avorechecha, va'gadol lo shemecha, I'll make your name great, ve'yeh bracha, and you'll be a blessing. So I think I mentioned yesterday, va'gadol lo shemecha, the Emek HaDover, the Netziv, he says, va'gadol lo shemecha is that even though there are people who won't be doing what you're doing, but they'll respect you when they see what you do. And this is very, very true. There are non-Jews, and generally they respect us more when they see our consistency in Yiddishkeit. When they see a Jew who's compromising, like, you know, I mean, you're Jewish or you're not Jewish. If you're Jewish, so why are you eating pork? What goes on over here? Why are you don't you have a Sabbath? Isn't this your Sabbath? I have a friend who's Orthodox. They don't drive on the Sabbath. Why are you driving? Many people have had this happen. That, you know, I understand you're playing for keeps or you're not. So when they see that we're consistent, when they see our consistency, they respect it. Even secular Jews, especially in Israel, secular Jews who are Sephardim, who are very respectful of tradition. They were not anti-religious. The Sephardim were never anti-religious in their countries. And even secular Sephardim are very respectful of religion. They're very respectful of Rabbanim. They're very respectful of Rabbanim. The Ashkenazi elite is tends to be anti. Not all of them, obviously, but in the Sephardim, they're very, very respectful. And at the end of the day, even those who are anti, I believe that in their heart of hearts, they respect consistency. People respect it. There are many frum men who have not shaken hands with women. It's one of the awkward things that could come up in life. A woman sticks out her hand to shake your hand, and it's not your mother or your grandmother or your daughter, right? Are you allowed to shake her hand or not? So according to Rav Moshe Feinstein, according to the Stipler, according to the Chazon, you're not allowed to shake her hand. Now, it could become awkward. It could be awkward. If you simply say, my religion, and I'm not allowed to shake hands with women. I'm not allowed to shake hands with them. My religion prohibits it. Then they'll respect you for it because they see consistency. They see consistency. The chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Yisrael Meir Lau, the former chief rabbi, Ashkenazi chief rabbi, was once on a stage with some sort of Holocaust. On televised Holocaust event, memorial of some sort, and Ronald Reagan was the president, and they were on the stage, and in front of a TV audience, so you're talking about a lot of people watching this, Ronald Reagan struck out his hand, and Rabbi Lau shook his hand, and then Nancy Reagan stuck out her hand. Now this is problematic, because on the one hand, you're not allowed to shake her hand, on the other hand, you can't not shake the hand of the president's wife, right? This is very awkward. So he shook it, Ronald Reagan's hand, then she stuck out her hand. So you know what he did? He saw that without missing a beat, he took a step back. Without missing a beat, he took a step back and said, "To the First Lady of the United States, I bow." And that's how he got out of it. Right? So you know, nobody minds being bowed to, but it's a very, very awkward thing. By the way, I heard that there was a yeshiva for guys who were struggling. Boys were struggling with their Yiddishkeit. And the yeshiva ran a promotion that anybody who finishes the Masechta, they were learning a Masechta, any of the boys who finish the Masechta, the yeshiva will sponsor a ski trip to Switzerland. Not a bad idea, right? Go to what do you call it? So I forget, I would like to go to Switzerland, forget about the ski trip, I want the Swiss chocolate. But okay, they sponsoring a ski trip. So these 4 guys finished the Masechta. So they, maybe Miguel, maybe a little cold. Thanks, sorry to make you get up. Any objections? Any objections? Oh, come on, somebody object, make my day. What do you call it? So these 4 guys, thank you. These 4 guys finished the Masechta, so they took them to Switzerland, they went on a ski trip. So they're going down the slopes, at a certain point they stop. There's a little cafe over there, a bar, whatever it is. They go into this bar, they're sitting there. There's a non-Jewish couple sitting with them. The husband was French, the wife was German. And they're speaking to these four bachrim they're sitting at the table. And the bachrim got up to leave. So as they got up to leave, the husband sticks out his hand and he shakes hands with one of the boys. So then the wife sticks out her hand. So the boy says, I'm not allowed to shake hands with women. She says to him, why not? He says to her, well, first of all, our religion prohibits it. She says, why is that? He goes, well, first of all, if you shake hands with women, if you want to shake hands, it could lead to other things which are forbidden, number one. And number two, a man who doesn't shake hands with other women, so he'll have greater appreciation for his own wife. So she turns to her husband, she smacks him across the face as hard as she can. She says, Jacques, you should be more like the Jews, right? So they're only saying, well, we've known all along. That's so it could be awkward, but they respect consistency. My mother was a nurse. And she was she brought her own food, and the other nurses respect. They were Catholics and Christians. They respected her for her principles. They respected. One of them even said to my mother once. She said, Mrs. Kaplan, if my church would be as consistent as yours, I might be I would attend more often. We don't go to church, by the way. We went to a shul, right? She meant synagogue, but good enough. She went good enough. That means they see the consistency and they respect it. Many frum Jews have experienced where there has been respect for their religion, because people respect consistency. Okay, so that's first of all, God l'shmecha. Then it says v'heyei bracha. Now listen carefully. A bracha is a blessing. And what was Avram Avinu? What does it mean to be a blessing? What was Avram Avinu's career? What was he doing, which the Torah does not report before, but only reports afterwards? What was Avram Avinu's mission in life? What was his job? What did he do? He was spreading monotheism. He was the first Makarover in history, right? He was doing professional outreach. Now, the Torah says v'yei bracha. The word bracha is related to the Hebrew word brecha. A brecha is an overflowing spring. It's a spring of water. That means bracha in general means something is overflowing. If you say, well, we were blessed this year in business, that means the money was overflowing. The secular referred to the religious with family size, the big religious families that you have in Israel, they refer to mishpachot bruchot yeladim, blessed with children. There's overflow. That's what a brecha is. A brecha is a bracha. Remember I told you the numerical value of bracha is 227, which is the same numerical value as zachar, which is a male. Because men are generally out there. Men are generally trying to overflow, trying to accomplish, trying to do. So a bracha is a spring. The Torah is telling you here, if you're involved in kiruv, there are two things that you have to do if you want to be successful in drawing other. First of all, does a spring go to the person or a person goes to the spring? Person's got to come to you. That means you can't convince anybody of anything unless they're willing to listen. That means the person has to come to you. You could approach them. You can certainly approach them, but there has to be something on their end that they're coming towards you, that they're willing to hear what you have to say. To argue with people and to yell at people about how, that Judaism is true and I can prove it to you and yell the proofs at them does absolutely zero for people. Number one. Number two, imagine a hot day and you see a spring. What would you like to do? Go in. That means if you want to be makar of people, you have to make the Yiddishkeit tempting. You have to show them the beauty of Judaism, that there should be a reason why they should want to get involved. You can't compromise halacha to do that. Torah is not ours to start adjusting, but you have to make it something that is tempting. That's something that makes it interesting for people. That's why one of the most effective things that ever in kiruv, what do you think is the most effective, probably the most effective thing that draws people there to Yiddishkeit? Shabbos. People who go and see a Shabbos for the first time in their life, you go to a Shabbos table, they're blown away by it. They can't, this is unbelievable. You walk in and you could sense the atmosphere which they've never sensed in their life. Oh, everybody's dressed nicely. Even little children for 5 minutes stay clean and neat. By the end of Shabbos, they look like, by the Shabbos, you just pick up the whole kid and dump him into the washing machine. You don't even bother taking the clothes off. The kid looks like he's got all the candy goop on his face, and the kid just looks like everything they touch him sticks to him at that point. It doesn't matter. You don't want to lose your keys, just put it on the kid, right? It'll stick to any part of his body. A 5-year-old kid, by the end of Shabbos, everything sticks to it. right? But at the end of the day, a person walks in and sees the beauty of Yiddishkeit. That's what people are attracted to. That's Veheye Bracha. Okay. So Avram Avinu and Lot, they start traveling. Now, comes along the Torah and Pasuk Yud. This is where we want to pick it up. It says, Vayihi Rav Ba'aretz, page 56, Pasuk Yud. Vayihi Rav Ba'aretz, there's a famine in the land. Now imagine you're Avram Avinu. God says go. And you go to the land of Canaan. And you get to the land of Canaan. And next thing you know, boom, there's a famine. Oh, thanks a lot. That's a test. That's a test. What's the test? The first test is, what?
Hunger?
Yeah, well, hunger is not a test, it's a fact. The fact is I'm hungry. Why is it called a test?
Does he travel and complain about?
What's that? Oh, you fetch and complain. You fetch and complain. Now, according to Rashi and the other Mefarshim, the test is that Avram is going to leave Israel. It's as a famine. You got nothing to eat. You got to go. The Ramban says Avram Avinu messed up over here. You should have stayed in Israel and had faith that the famine will end. You shouldn't have gotten into the situation. That's what Ramban's approach is that Avram Avinu, his expression is chata chet gadol. He did a chet, by the way. What does a chet mean? We think chet is a sin.
Transgression.
You know, that's translated. You know what the word chet really means? You missed. Chata. You even use it in modern Hebrew if you take a shot and you miss. I was watching the guys out there playing basketball for 20 minutes. Boy, not one ball went in. Sinners, right? That means chatu, chatat matara. You missed the target. You missed the target. So Avram, you missed. That's what a chet is. A chet is I missed. I missed doing the right thing. So Avram Avinu, there's a famine. So what does he do? Vayered Avram Mitzrayma. He goes off to the land of Egypt. Lo Gursham, ki kaved harav ba'aretz. And by the way, you know why the famine was brought? An entire famine in an entire land, you know why it was brought? To get one Jew to go to Egypt. That means the world is run because of the Jews. What God does is because of the Jews. And Avram Avinu, now HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to get him to, not according to the Ram, but according to the other commentaries, it's a test for Avram Avinu. Are you going to be upset about this? You have no choice. You got to leave the land. Are you going to be upset and have gripes against God? Avram passes the test. Hashem brought me here. He knows what he's doing. He brought a famine. He still knows what he's doing. So what does he do? Avram goes down to Egypt. Egypt is lower than Eretz Yisrael. Vayehi kasher hikriv lavo Mitzrayma. When Avram Avinu was getting close, Vayomer el Sarai ishto hinina yadati ki isha yafas mara. Now I know that you're a beautiful woman. Now there are two ways to understand this. One way is the plain way that we would think. Avram says, okay, listen, I know you're beautiful. We got a problem here because these guys are out of control. And we're going to go to Egypt and we're going to have a problem. When the Egyptians see you, they're going to say, hey, it's his wife. They'll kill me and they'll keep you alive. The other approach here, which Rashi brings down, is that Avram Avinu was so modest in his behavior, so controlled in his behavior, he never looked at his wife. And when they were crossing, apparently there was some sort of body of water that they were crossing, he saw her reflection in the water. He goes, whoa, 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 you're beautiful. And we're going to Egypt. Bad combination, right? Bad combination. Okay? Now, the question that you want to ask is not the one we want to deal with. The question that we should ask is that if Avram Avinu didn't look at his wife, on the other hand, we have a source of the Gemara that says a man's not allowed to get married without seeing his wife. So how could Avram Avinu not have known that she was beautiful? He kept the entire Torah, it says. Avram Avinu kept the Torah before it was given. It's a tricky question, isn't it? He kept the entire Torah, even rabbinic law, it says. Avram Avinu kept even rabbinic law, even the laws of Eruv he kept, which are a rabbinic injunction. If he kept the entire Torah, the Rabbanan, there's a din, it's a halacha. You're not allowed to get married without seeing the woman that you're going to marry. Most men would like to do that. They'd like to see her before they marry her. Right? She doesn't have to see you. And I suggest you hide as long as you can. But she doesn't have to see you. But you have to see her. Why? Says the Gemara. Says you shouldn't be repulsed by her. By the way, it doesn't say says she should be gorgeous. So you shouldn't be repulsed by her. So you got to see her before you marry her. You got to see her. So if Avraham Avinu kept the entire Torah, how could he have not known his wife is beautiful? Good question, right, Miguel? There's your Gemara question now. In Chumash, you got a Gemara question. What do you say?
Well, but even more than that, I guess like when they had already been together because they're already husband and wife, he has to look at her. Like they have to, no, they have to.
Rashi brings the medrash that because of the tznius of both of them, he didn't look at her. Rashi's quoting a medrash. I got a medrash and I got Rashi on my side. I got Rashi and the medrash on my side. Now, by the way, pay attention carefully. Look, I want you to see the Rashi inside. We'll learn a little behavior. Well, I'll get to you one second. I want you to see the Rashi inside. Take a look at Rashi, left column, fourth line. Hinei no yadati, pasuk yud aleph. Hinei no yadati, medrash agoda. You see that, Miguel?
Yeah.
I'm reading the words of Rashi. Ad achshav lo hikir ba. Till now he did not know. Mitoch tznius shebishteihem, because of the tznius of both of them. That means, let's explain the concept, because Avi's bothered by this. And now he recognized because of this incident they crossed the water and he saw a reflection. Davar acher, Rashi says, that davar acher, that's a medrash agada. Minagolam shaydei Torah chaderech adam izbazeh. The other pshat is, normally when you travel, most people when you travel, it doesn't improve your looks. You ever see people getting off of a plane? Right? They look like, I told you, they look like the theoretical possibility of matter without form. Right? So Avraham Avinu, according to this approach, he knew that she's beautiful. But after all this traveling through a dusty desert on a donkey or a camel, he wasn't expecting much. V'zos amda beyofish, she retained her beauty. I mean, people get to the airport looking good. They get off the airport looking worse than their baggage. Right? So Avraham, but here she's still beautiful. Now what are we going to do? According to this approach, they live normally. But there's a medrash that says what they didn't look at, he never looked at her because of the tznius of both of them. Now, by the way, if anybody ever wants to do this, I want to become a tzaddik. I'm not going to look at my wife. You better have her approval. Because most wives want to be looked at. Right? So you can only do this, you'll notice it says because of the tznius of both of them. That means she was perfectly okay with it. Because if you don't look at your wife and she's not okay with it, then you're not a tzaddik, you're a rasha, you're torturing her. So she was perfectly okay with it. What that means is that there are levels of self-control where a person does not take pleasure out of this world, even if it's permissible pleasure. They say the Vilna Gaon, when he ate, he chewed his food as little as possible. As few times as possible in order to get minimal pleasure from his eating. He put it in his mouth, chewed it the minimal amount of time, and by the way, he was eating bread, water, and maybe a piece of fish. And he got the minimal amount of life. Now, I do this with lemon meringue pie, because I'm also a tzaddik. So, on my fourth piece of lemon meringue pie, I chew it as few times as possible. By that time, I inhale it, right? It's like, you got to know what level you're on. You got to, I'm not the Vilna Gaon. I eat lemon meringue pie, and I eat a lot of it when it's available, right? Okay, so we're not the Vilna Gaon. There is a concept of taking as little pleasure. For us, if we could take pleasure out of this world in a permissible way, and only in a permissible way, then we're doing great. Just don't cross the line where it's forbidden. And maybe a little self-control with the permissible things, like, that fourth helping of cholent, maybe stop. No, you won't want to do that, would you? Let's go. Until I get up to 6 or 7, I'm not done. But,
the cholent pot is finished.
Until that cholent pot, we take no prisoners, right? So, but at least make it permissible. At least it should be kosher cholent. We're not the Vilna Gaon. So the Torah is teaching you there is a concept here. Whether it was literal or not, I don't know. It's showing you what a human being could achieve. What a human being could achieve. And I know of one rabbi in our day and age whose wife was overheard saying to another woman, I don't know if since we've been married my husband has ever looked at me. And I guarantee you that if he, the Rav she was talking to, who I'm speaking about, if he had any doubt that his wife would be bothered by it, he wouldn't be doing it. Because it's got to be with her approval. So as Torah is teaching you, there are levels here. That's all. there is a level. It's something beyond. Look, it's beyond our comprehension. It's also beyond our comprehension. The Vilna Gaon lived a lot closer to us. Vilna Gaon only lived 250 years ago, and it's beyond our comprehension to choose something as few times as possible. The only time I do that is if it's something I don't like. Right? If I don't like it, I got to knock it down as fast as possible without chewing it. So I don't insult the hostess. No, that's it. Like a snake swallowing, a rodent, right? Like that. That's it. I don't want to taste it, and I don't want to think about it. But if it tastes good, I don't chew as few times as possible. That's for sure. Like, that steak. Darn it. No, it don't work that way. Right? That's the Vilna Gaon. So we can't. It's beyond our comprehension. And I've got news for you. Don't even try it. Kids at home, don't try this. This is not for you. This could be, don't even try it. There is, by the way, on matzah, when people eat matzah on Pesach, this is not because of taste. There is a halacha, some people actually do this, that you're supposed to try to put the matzah in your mouth, chew it, and swallow an entire kazayas at one time. There are people who actually try doing it. I wouldn't even try it. And I wouldn't even try it, and I don't recommend, because we're not looking for any emergency tracheotomies at the Pesach Seder, right? So don't even try it. But there are people who do it. They put a kazayas in their mouth, they chew it up, because the halacha says chew it up, and then swallow the kazayas at once. Apparently, I'm convinced that the halacha was talking about a much smaller size kazayas than people who are machmir, that the kazayas is about the size of this cup. No, don't do that. So Avram Avinu says, look, either way, we're in trouble here. We're in trouble here because you're beautiful. So I'm asking you a good question. Assuming Avram Avinu kept the entire Torah, and the halacha says you have to look at her, you can be the biggest tzaddik in the world, but the halacha says you got to look at her, so how could he possibly not have looked at her? So one of the approaches, one of the answers is, you hear the problem, the halachic problem. One of the answers is, what about a blind man? Is the blind man allowed to get married? He can't see his wife. How can he possibly get married? The answer is, well, since he's blind and he's not going to be seeing her, so he doesn't have to see her now. An Avram Avinu who knows that he's not going to be looking at her, therefore he doesn't have to look at her to begin with. That's one approach.
So if you're never going to see her,
then you don't have to see her to begin with. The other approach is that what the Medrash means is that I saw one of the comments as something enchanting. There are different types of beauties. There's a physical beauty of a person, and there's a spiritual beauty of a person. If you looked at Reb Moshe Feinstein, show a picture, if you saw Reb Moshe Feinstein, you'd say he was beautiful. Now, it's certainly not the same beauty as a woman, right? But you'd say he's beautiful. Even a female, you could see a woman, maybe physically she's not all that beautiful, but after talking to her, for getting to know her, she grows on you, type of thing. Because there's an inner beauty, there's a ruchni beauty, there's a spiritual beauty. It works the other way too. You can see a woman who's physically beautiful, and then she ruins it all by opening her mouth, right? And after a while, you can't even look at her. There are people that she looks physically, you can't even look at her. And Reb Moshe, a woman, Avraham Avinu sees that his wife is beautiful. Now, at his level, he thinks her beauty. You know where we find this? Where do we find a woman who Chazal tell us her beauty was not a physical beauty, at least according to one opinion? Esther. Because there's one opinion that Esther was very beautiful, just physically beautiful. There's another opinion in the Gemara that Esther was actually physically, she was sickly looking. But she had a chut shel chesed, she had a spiritual beauty that enchanted people. She was just a beautiful person. So Avraham Avinu looks at Sarah and he thinks that Sarah, he knows she's beautiful, but he thinks her beauty is because she has Ruach HaKodesh, because she's got the spirit, a godly spirit about her. But there's one problem. Godly spirits don't rest in areas where there's impurity. And where is there impurity? In Egypt. So as he gets closer to Egypt and he says, ooh, she is beautiful, that means, well, it can't be a godly beauty because it wouldn't be resting on her. I guess she's physically beautiful. I want to tell you something. A man can be married to a woman And after a while, he forgets what her actual objective physical beauty is. Because he's married to her. He doesn't realize other men see her as either very beautiful or not beautiful at all. Because he sees beauty in her because it's his wife. And not only that, the Gemara says there are 3 beauties that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created in the world. It's not even beauty. The word chen is grace. And it says, chen makom al yoshvav. People love where they live. There are actually people who love living in Philadelphia. Right? They actually love it. You know, they live in Philadelphia. Where are you from? Where are you from, Zach?
Not Philadelphia.
Where?
Seattle.
Seattle. Okay, that I can understand. Beautiful place, right? There are actually people who love living in certain. And you look at this place like, why would anyone want to live here? Yeah, you go to North Carolina, North Dakota, right? And there are people in North Dakota would never leave North Dakota for anything in the world. You ever been to North Dakota? Neither have I, right? And no future plans either. In a place like that, it's freezing in winter, freezing in summer. There's nothing there. If people say, "Oh, I'll live in Dakota," I'll live it. You know, there's a certain chen makom al yoshva. People love where they live. People in Venezuela wouldn't give it up. They're only leaving because they're forced. They think it's great. Greatest place in the world, Venezuela, right? They just love it, right? People live in Mexico, greatest place in the world, right? It's not like Chicago, which is the greatest place in the world. These are places where people think it's the greatest place in the world. That's one chen. The Gemara says, a wife has a certain chen for her husband. How can you have a certain chen? But they're married for 50 years. I mean, listen, she's 75 years old. How could there's a certain, what you call grace. She's got a chut shel chesed. So Avraham Avinu thought that's what her beauty was coming from. What's the third? Chen makom yosho, chen ishal bailo, I'm not sure. I think it's being a Cub fan. It's irrational, it's unreasonable, but it is. Just there, that love is there. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the third one is. Oh, what is the third one? I'll check. I'll believe that or I'll check. Well, what chen is the place, the wife. Don't remember. I have to check. But that's so. Avraham Avinu. That's what Rabbi Yonasan Eibshit says. He was the one that I mentioned earlier when he was 9 years old, who shtach the Catholic priest, right? Rabbi Yonasan, in his classic commentary, he says that's what Avraham Avinu was. He thought it was a spiritual beauty till he got to Mitzrayim and he realized it can't be spiritual because there is no spiritual by Mitzrayim, and therefore he's got to take a precaution. Now look what he says here. He says, "Listen, you better say, Imri na achosiyah. Tell him you're my sister." Tell him you're my sister in order that it's good for me and you'll stay alive. Now if you take a look at Rashi, and Pasuk, Rashi is one of the most intriguing statements here. Look at Rashi and Pasuk. L'man yitav li ba'avurech yitnu li matanos. They'll give me gifts. I mean, what's Avraham Avinu saying? Well, listen, if you say you're my wife, they're going to kill me. So I got a better idea. Tell them you're my sister. How did it work in the old days with the sister? How did you make a shidduch with your sister in the old days? I'll give you my sister and 2 ponies for a couple of camels and a whole flock of sheep. Deal. I'll throw in my sister. We're good. Right? Take my daughter and 2 camels, right? In exchange for, all your horses. That's how it worked in those days. You bartered your daughter away. You bartered your sister away. So Avinu says, listen, I'll come to Egypt. If I'm a husband, they'll kill me. But if you're a sister, you're a single woman, and, listen, so we'll make a deal. We'll cut a deal over here. I mean, is it kind of, I would say that's a little bit insensitive, don't you think? Everybody says, listen, sir, we're in trouble. I don't want to die, so you know what? We'll barter you, and they'll give me some gifts. How's that sound? A little insensitive at this point?
I'm cool with that.
You're cool with that, yeah. What, do you think she was cool with that?
That's my namesake, after all.
Yeah, Rob, you're cool with that. Yeah, do you think she was cool with that? Do you think he was cool with that? What's going on? The answer is Avraham Avinu is saying to Sarah, listen, we got a problem here. We're in a catch-22. If I'm your husband, they're going to kill me, and you're going to suffer a fate worse than death. They're going to take you, and goodness knows what they're going to do, use you for. But you're in trouble either way. They're going to keep you alive. What do you think they're going to keep you alive for? It's not to discuss philosophy, right? So you're in trouble. If they kill me, you're in trouble. The lesser of two evils is if I'm your brother and they buy you off of me. So number one, I'll be alive to maybe help you get out of this. And number two, by purchasing you, it's going to be a big cost because you're beautiful. They're going to pay a lot for you. I'll have money available. I'll have resources. Maybe I can buy you out of this. I'll be able to bribe my wife. I don't want the gifts for myself. Giving me gifts will be for your benefit. Leman, that's why he says, Leman yitav li ba'avurech. It'll be good for me. They'll give me gifts ba'avurech for your benefit. It'll be your benefit over here because maybe I'll be able to buy you out of this once they purchase you from me. The other way, then I'm not even going to be around to help you. And I'll stay alive on your account. So, Avram Avinu, again, it's a catch-22. So, Vayhi kivo Avram Mitzrayma, Vayura Mitzrayim. The Egyptians see that she's beautiful. They directly go to Egypt. Now, Rashi points out that you'll notice Vayhi kivo Avram Mitzrayim is in the singular. They're traveling together. Why is it when he came to Mitzrayim? Right? The answer is that the famous Medrash, he hit her in the box to try to get through customs. Right?
So,
nothing. He went through the green light. Nothing to declare. Right? Everything. People they're coming in at the airport over here in Israel with their heaped up with a massive amount of. They're pushing the cart. Nothing to. Nobody's got anything to declare. Once in a while, the guy says, and you got to open it up and show them. The guy's got 20 smartphones in there, but nothing to declare. Right? The electronics, that sort of thing. So I like when they call me over. I like when they call me. They haven't called me over in years, but I like when they call me over. I can see all I got is another pair of pants in there and a couple of socks. And my chumash. What do you want? Or nothing to declare. Ruined his day. So Avraham Avinu goes try. He goes with nothing to declare. They open up. So what happened? That medrash, it says he was trying to hide her, and then they see she's a woman in it. What is that? That's my sister. Oh yeah, we used to put our sister in the closet. I guess you put her in the box, whatever it is. Okay, so he goes into Egypt. Now, the big question here is, the Egyptians, Avram says, well, if they're my husband, they're going to kill me. Husband, they'll kill. I don't understand. They're worried about committing adultery, but they're not worried about murder? Both are against Noahide law. To murder him, they have no problem with. But chas v'shalom, if she's a married woman, don't want to commit adultery, what do they care? Why would they kill him if he's the husband? Why are they worried about murder? They're not worried about adultery. Why are they worried about adultery? They're not worried about murder. So I got 3 answers here. Number 1, they're not worried about either of them. But if the husband's alive, he can say he's going to make trouble over it. We get the trouble out of the way. First thing is kill him. Number 2 is, they're not worried about either. But it's more convenient to get rid of him. So, they won't murder him outright. They'll just stage maybe they'll stage a camel accident, and have him get trampled. But I saw a brilliant answer. The Malbim says a brilliant answer here. You see, they were convinced a woman who is exceedingly beautiful, they see her as a goddess. And a commoner is not allowed to marry her. And if a commoner marry her, he forfeits his life by law. She's only suitable for one person, which is who? The king. Paro himself, who carries himself as some sort of deity. And therefore, it's not that they're going to murder him, they're going to execute him. There's a big difference. He has forfeited his life by marrying such a beautiful woman because she's somebody who's only for the king. So Avraham Avinu realized, I got a problem over here. I saw an unbelievable shot, by the way. Avraham Avinu had some sort of premonition. He saw something in the future. He saw that in Egypt there's going to be something about killing a male, saving a female, and a sister being involved. Where do we find that? In the future there's going to be a decree. Throw the males into the Nile. Keep the girls alive. And the sister's going to be about, who's the sister? Miriam, who stands there by the water to save Moshe, who got thrown into the Nile. So Avraham Avinu, these premonitions are not always clear. he understood that as well. They're going to want to kill me, and they're going to keep her alive, and the excuse to get out of it will be by saying she's a sister. It just is the premonition, just a little confusion there, and therefore that's how he wants to go with this plot. Now, last point. This is considered a test. So again, we're on the question: what's the test here? Didn't they have a choice? The Ramban, by the way, says he failed the test. The Ramban says that this was all part of the failure. You had no right to leave Israel, and you had no right to put your wife in danger by saying it's your sister. That's the Ramban's approach. The standard approach is he passed the test here. How did he pass it? What was the test? How did he pass the test? He said, "You're my sister." He gave her up. What's the test? The answer is, imagine you make a trip to the White House. Going to visit, you and your wife go to the White House to visit. You're standing by the gates, and Bill Clinton's the president, and Hillary's on a diplomatic trip to China. He's all alone in the White House, and all of a sudden the Secret Service guys come out. They take a look and say, "The president wants to speak to your wife." So you come walking in, and they take her in, and they stop you at the gate. Now your wife's all alone in the White House with Bill Clinton. Right? How do you think you'd feel there? Right? And then what do you call it? And then she comes back the next day. Right? How do you think you'd feel there? The test is not can you do something about it. The test is I believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's all for the good. It's all for the good. So she gets taken in. She does get taken in. And as Paro approaches her, there's a three's a crowd. There's a third one in the room, which was who? The angel. There was a malach there. And as Paro approached her, she said to Malach, "Hit him, will you?" First she told Paro, "I'm a married woman." He goes, yeah, I've heard that one before. And he comes closer. Boom, smack him. Right? He gets beaten up by the malach. Rashi, the Torah says he got plagues over here. Everybody got plagued. They suffered as a result. She comes out, and Avram Avinu believes her. She says, "I'm pure. 100% pure." And Avram Avinu passes the test. He has got no gripes against the Kodesh Baruch Hu. And by the way, this is Maisa Avos Siman Labanim. Maisa Avos Siman Labanim means that what happened to the forefathers is going to happen to the descendants. There's going to be, the Jewish people are going to go down to Egypt. They're going to be picked on by the Egyptians. The Egyptians are going to get plagued, and they're going to be sent away with wealth. Avram Avinu goes down to Egypt because of a famine. They suffer as a result in Egypt. The Egyptian Paro and his people here get plagues, and Avram Avinu is going to leave with tremendous wealth. They give him gifts and tremendous wealth, and he leaves Egypt. Tomorrow we'll see what happens on the flip-flop when he goes home.